Imagine this, you're walking home, maybe thinking about what to make for dinner, groceries in hand. The sun is setting, it's a quiet evening. Then, in an instant, flashing blue and red lights shatter the peace. A police car screeches to a halt beside you. This isn't a scene from a movie. This was the reality for 28-year-old Elijah Hayes, a software engineer whose short walk from the corner store turned into a life-altering nightmare. Two officers, Vance and Miller, step out. The senior officer, Vance, doesn't ask questions. He makes accusations. "We've got a report of a male matching your description causing a disturbance," he barks. Eli, confused but wanting to cooperate, holds up his bag of milk and bread. "I haven't caused any disturbance, officer. I'm just walking home." He's calm, he's respectful, but it doesn't matter. The officers' minds are already made up. "Turn around and put your hands on the hood of the car," one of them orders. Eli tries to understand, asking what description they received. The response: a shout, a violent twist of his arm. "I'm not resisting." He cries out, but his pleas are ignored. The milk carton smashes on the pavement, a stark white splash on the dark asphalt, mirroring the sudden chaos in his life. What happened next was a brutal, terrifying blur. Eli was thrown against the police car, the air forced from his lungs. Cuffs were cinched so tightly they bit into his wrists, despite his pained protests. But the worst was yet to come. While he was already subdued, kneeling on the ground and completely compliant, Officer Vance delivered a vicious, unprovoked kick to his side. The pain was sharp, excruciating, and Eli collapsed, the world spiraling into a haze of agony and disbelief. In the blink of an eye, an innocent man's life was shattered on a quiet suburban street. The injustice didn't end there. In fact, it was just beginning. Eli was charged with a laundry list of crimes he didn't commit: resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, even assaulting an officer. The very people who had assaulted him were now painting him as the aggressor. Their official report was a work of fiction, describing a non-compliant, hostile subject. The police union, without question, stood behind their officers. The system, it seemed, was closing ranks. The district attorney's office, eager to avoid a conflict with the police, offered Eli a deal: plead guilty to a lesser charge, and he could walk away with just probation. It was a tempting offer for someone facing the terrifying prospect of a trial and potential jail time, but Eli refused. "I did nothing wrong," he declared to his civil rights attorney, the brilliant and fearless Aisha Khan. "I will not plead guilty to being assaulted." This wasn't just about avoiding a criminal record anymore. It was about reclaiming his truth. Aisha Khan knew they were in for a fight. The officers' body cameras, they had conveniently malfunctioned during the most critical moments of the arrest. A classic tactic. But Aisha was relentless. She wouldn't rely on the police's version of events. She launched her own investigation, digging for the truth that the system was trying to bury, and she found it. Her team scoured the neighborhood, talking to residents and checking for any possible surveillance. Their hard work paid off. They uncovered two pieces of evidence that would change everything. First, a bystander across the street had pulled out her phone and recorded the final 30 seconds of the arrest. Her video clearly showed Eli, completely compliant, kneeling on the ground. Just before Officer Vance delivered that brutal kick, it was the smoking gun. Second, a security camera from a nearby business captured a wider angle. This footage proved that Eli had been walking peacefully and alone, completely dismantling the police's initial claim that he was causing a disturbance. The lies were starting to unravel. The criminal trial was a tense battle of narratives. The defense lawyers tried to portray Eli, a calm and composed software engineer, as a menacing threat. They used veiled language, describing his agitated demeanor and large size to justify the officer's use of force. It was a desperate attempt to play on prejudice and fear, but Aisha Khan was ready. One by one, she dismantled their arguments with cold, hard facts. She presented the silent, undeniable testimony of the videos. The grainy cell phone footage was played for the jury, and the courtroom watched in stunned silence as the unprovoked act of violence unfolded on screen. She then brought in a medical expert who confirmed that Eli's bruised ribs and other injuries were perfectly consistent with being kicked while he was already on the ground and subdued. The prosecution's case, built on a foundation of lies, was crumbling under the weight of the truth. Finally, the moment of truth arrived. The jury filed back into the courtroom, their faces unreadable. The air was thick with tension. Eli sat bolt upright, his mother's hand clutching his entire future hanging in the balance. The court clerk began to read the verdicts on the count of resisting arrest. Not guilty, a collective exhale in the courtroom. On the count of disorderly conduct, not guilty. Eli's eyes welled up. On the count of assaulting an officer, not guilty. A wave of relief, so powerful it was almost overwhelming, washed over Elijah Hayes. He had been vindicated. He had been telling the truth all along. He was not a criminal. He was a victim. But clearing his name was only the first step. The fight for true justice was far from over. With his innocence confirmed, Eli's civil lawsuit against the officers and the city for excessive force and battery moved forward. This time, the goal wasn't just to prove he was not guilty, but to hold the officers accountable for their actions. The cell phone video became the centerpiece of the trial. It was played again and again for the civil jury, each viewing a stark reminder of the abuse of power that had occurred. Officers Vance and Miller took the stand, sticking to their fabricated story. But their words sounded hollow against the irrefutable visual evidence. Their lies, so convincing on paper in their initial report, fell apart under the bright lights of the courtroom. The jury saw the truth with their own eyes. An officer of the law, sworn to protect and serve, brutally assaulting a man who posed no threat. After 3 days of deliberation, the civil jury returned its verdict. They found Officer Vance and Officer Miller liable for excessive force and battery. The city was ordered to pay a significant settlement to Eli. This wasn't just about money. It was a public acknowledgement of the physical pain, the emotional trauma, and the flagrant violation of his civil rights. It was the system admitting that what had happened to him was wrong, but the most significant victory was still to come. The overwhelming evidence from the trial and the public outcry it generated created pressure that the police department could no longer ignore. 3 weeks later, the news broke Officer Thomas Vance was fired. Officer Miller was suspended, facing a full internal investigation. Accountability, so often elusive, had finally been achieved. As Elijah Hayes walked out of the courthouse for the last time, the sun was shining. He hadn't just cleared his name, he had forced a crack in the blue wall of silence. He had been beaten, falsely accused, and his faith in the justice system shattered. But he refused to be a silent victim. He stood his ground, fought back with the truth, and against all odds, he won. In a flawed system, on that bright, clear day, Elijah Hayes finally got the justice he so deeply deserved. His story is a powerful reminder that one person's courage can make a difference, and that the fight for what's right is always a fight worth having. Thank you so much for watching and for letting us share Eli's incredible story. If you found this story as moving as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more content that matters. We'll see you in the next one.